All right, stats, welcome to a chapters 6 and 8. It might be in two different videos here, so chapter 6 for sure. Well, this is your 6 and 8 notes packet. Welcome to a little video here discussing it. I'm just going to give you the really important things that we need down, all right? Marginal conditional distribution. Here's a little definition. You can read that. Okay, so let's, we did do a few in class talking about, it's probably be good to get from somebody. We did this example, wrote it down in class, did some, wrote out some overall survival rates over here with the helicopter and then being taken by road. Also, we talked here, and you might have had this already, depending on, yes, I think we started this already, again, 6-6 airline flight delays. Hint, this is the type of question that you'll see on your in-class assignment, something like that. So we talked about 6.6, which hospital is safer. We did that as well, and that was one of the last things we did before some of us started our quarantine. So read this first Monday, again. Just read this. This is what we're talking about. Simpsons Paradox, lurking variables, conditional marginal distribution. Let's get into this one, though. This is the first example that we did on Monday. So the National Longitudinal Study of Adolescent Health interviewed several thousand teens, grades 7 to 12. I told kids Monday, I'm pretty sure my sister was involved in one of these studies. My mom answered questions like every 2 years or so. Her kindergarten class was chosen, so I have to ask her about that. Anyway, this happens. It's got, look at that little footnote there, okay, or a reference number, anyway, it happened somewhere, it's footnoted somewhere. How many individuals are described? Add up the females and males to get 7877. How many females are there? Just add them up. The percent of females among the respondents, so that's simply how many there were divided by the total in the sample. What percent of females thought that they were most certain to be married in the next 10 years? So almost certain. So there were 1147 that were almost certain out of the 2625, about 45%. And then this one here, what percent on 614, what percent who thought they were almost certain to be married were female? All right, so almost certain to be married. You would add this row together. That was 1,930 of them. And you can divide. So you can ask your parents when they were married and whatnot. 7 to 12 grade. You would be what? 12 to 18 or so. Okay, so ask of your parents who was married between 22 and 28. All right, fluid break there. Take a look then at 617. So read that. The college looks at the grade point average of its full-time students, part-time students. Grades in science courses are usually lower because they're harder. The College of Science, there are a few science majors that are part-time students, but there are many that are full-time students. The college finds that full-time students that are science majors have a higher GPA than part-time students who are science majors. And full-time students who are not science majors also have a higher GPA than part-time students that are not science majors. So we got two things here. So full-time students in both have a higher GPA, yet overall, part-time students have a higher GPA. So if, a college in their newspaper, the student newspaper, that's a big deal in college. Shout out to the Daily Egyptian in Southern Illinois, Carbondale, and the Alestal at SIU, Edwardsville. Bigger shout out to the Daily Egyptian, though. Let's see. They'll report that. They'll report the all-campus GPA each semester, then the total amount of students each semester. Again, they'll report a lot of numbers from the university, and they could show this. Hey, part-time GPA is better than full-time GPA, but full-time is winning in both the categories. So this is an example of Simpsons Paradox. All right. They win in both of those categories, yet overall it looks like they have a worst GPA. That's the same thing in the airlines question. 618 I've written out. Let's take a look at it here. Graduate school for men and women. The College of Liberal Arts at a large university looks at its graduate data classified by their sex and field of study. We've got a reference here. Okay, so English, foreign language, history, philosophy, political science. The way I looked at this is, I added up how many were in each different field. So I did it that way. I didn't see how many females and males total. I wanted to see, given that I chose someone in English, what's the probability that they're female and so forth. So 225 in English all the way down to 64 in political science. And here is how I wrote it up. I would like you to do the same. I think you can see that all on my screen there. So females, all right. So in English, 136 divided by 225. Males in English, 89 divided by 225. And again, just keep going here. So we can see, English foreign language definitely more likely to have females than when we get into history, philosophy, political science. Not a massive difference in political science, but, history and philosophy, that's a big difference. Same thing as English and foreign language. All right, so that's the way I want you to give that info there. No matter what I like that. Let's go that way. All right, so marital status and job level. Read that. This is pretty interesting, okay? So given a job grade, I'm assuming like the rank of the job. So job grade 1 is like entry level, whereas job grade C, you might have a C in front of your title. I'm talking CO, CFO, CIO, something like that. One of the C's, or in higher management, some sort of executive. All right. So they looked only at men, so they're looking at their marital status. All right. So here's what we did in class for this next section. They gave you all the people in job. The entry-level jobs, 955. Then you have a lot in that like middle management category. In fact, that's about 80% of their employees, somewhere there. Lower management, a little bit higher, and then the upper echelon there, job grade 4. Okay, so job grade 1, job grade 2, 3, and 4. Look at their singleness rates. Just taking those numbers from there. So there was 800. There's 58 single gentlemen in job grade 1. There's 955 total in job grade 1. In job grade 2, 222 of them are single, and that's how many are in job grade 2. So we can see that it drops. The higher the job grade, the lower your singleness rates. And let's look at marriage rate. It's pretty high for job grade 1, and it gets a higher the higher the job level goes, the job grade goes. Divorce rate's pretty constant. I talked about why I thought that in class. Kind of seems to affect all types of job levels, that divorce rate. Widowed rate, I would have thought it would have been a little higher in job grade 4. You might have older gentlemen have a higher chance the older you get to be in that widowed category. All right, so we didn't see much difference in divorced and widowed, but we did see big difference in singleness rate and married rates. Okay, obviously getting married doesn't mean you're definitely going to be job grade 4, but there is looking like there is some sort of shift as you move up. So that claim that getting married is good for your job looks to have some validity with these numbers here. Okay, let's move on. I did 625 right here. So Wabash Tech, this is made up data here. So in the business, so just write it here. So I found their admittance rates, their admit rates. So in the college business, there were 600 men that applied, and I made a typo here. There's 200 females. So they were admitting 80% males, 90% females. And then the law school, it's crazy. You won't see these like numbers. 10 to 1 ratio of females to males in law school here at this institution. 33.3% admittance rate for ladies, 10% for gentlemen. So the females win overall, yet when you put the numbers together, look at that law school. I mean, that law school, women are getting in at a 3.3 times, better rate there. But, still 300 women applied, 200 got denied. So that's going to take down their overall admittance rate number. So if you gave this overall, you'd say there's an issue here. Women are being allowed in at a much lower rate. But then when you see Simpsons Paradox here, they actually do win in both categories. All right, there's just so many of them applying to get into this very difficult school that's going to overall bring it down. All right. So life at work was another good one here that we talked about today in class. University of Chicago does some good studies there. Which of the following statements best describes how your daily work is organized? Like, I am free. Number one, I'm free to decide how it's organized. I have total control. Number two, I can decide how it is, but within certain limits. And I have no control. I have no control at all. Number three. So here's a two-way table of the responses for education. So less than a high school degree is 127 of them. High school degree, 542, and bachelor's degree, 180. So that's how we broke it up in our notes here. So life at work, that is less than high school, and then basically college degree plus. Okay, so 127 less than high school, 31 of them had total control over what they can do. 49 had some control, and 47 had no control. All right, so 1 and 2 were desirable. That means you've got say in what you do at work. 1 and 2 are good, 1 and 2 are good. And we can see, less than a high school degree, you're much more likely to have no control over your work. And in those desirable work environments, 63% of folks less than a high school degree are in those. Whereas this is very close to 80%, and this is above 92%. So as education goes up, the freedom you can have in how your work is organized, how you do your job also increases. All right. Then we talked about animal testing. I gave 2 different ways to look at this. First off, given someone that strongly agrees, what's the probability they're male or female? Given that they disagree, what's the probability that they're male or female? Then I also added up how many males there were, how many females there were. So we're looking at this 2 different ways. The first way is like I just said. All right, so just write this down. If you're taking these notes, again, pause this if you need to. Given that they strongly agree, there's 135 of them. Males represented that, females represented that proportion. Given that they agreed, there's 517. Males represent that proportion and so forth. So we can see a trend here as well. Women are more likely to strongly agree or strongly disagree or disagree with that statement. Men are more likely to agree. All right, then, so have that down, pause it if you need to. Then I looked here just within males. Given that they're a male, what's the probability that they strongly agree, are indifferent, disagree, or strongly disagree with that statement? And the same thing here with females. Given that they're a female, there's 636 of them, what's the probability that they strongly agree, are indifferent, disagree, or strongly disagree with that statement? All right, just 2 different ways there. What we're headed towards is I'm going to say, given that I chose a woman at random, what's the probability that they do this? True, like conditional probability there. All right. Then what do we got? College degrees. This is another one where we don't look as good, gentlemen. Colleges and universities across the country are grappling with the case of the mysteriously vanishing male, so said Washington Post article. We're looking at degrees in 2009, 2010. It's been very consistent since then. All right, so in the thousands, so this is 447,000, 268,000. This is almost 1 million, so forth. All right, so that's how many thousand associate's degrees, 1.6 million bachelor's degrees, 648,000 masters. We talked about what a profession could be, doctor's degrees, PhDs. I'm sure they put MDs in this as well. Okay, I would imagine. So here's what we did. So given that it's associate's degree, what's the probability that a female earned that degree? Let's see if we can get all the